Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to day 2 of CogX. Welcome to the startup stage, the most exciting stage in the whole of CogX. I've done market research and I can validate that. I'm told I give you a little synopsis about me, but I normally need 2 or 3 hours, so I've had to cut it down to 2 or 3 minutes. I used to work for a little company called Apple. My team at Apple built podcasting, iTunes U, where the universities published the Apple portal. My team built the first generation of the App Store and the first generation of education apps. Depending who you ask, I was initially education director across Europe. I was then either promoted or excommunicated and sent to China, having caused so much chaos in Europe, they thought it'd be a good idea to drop me on the Chinese, which is quite an interesting career move. I left Apple at the end of 2009, beginning of 2010, returned to the UK basically unemployable. So too old, too expensive, and an ego bigger than this building. These are all not good career moves, by the way, so learned some lessons from this experience. I then started working with hedge funds, VCs, angel investors, family offices. I now have a portfolio of education, health, conversational AI businesses globally. I'm a senior external advisor to McKinsey, but again, not sure if senior is because I'm old or whether I have some domain expertise. You're gonna find out in a minute. I mean, what I do for a living is help grow and scale young businesses. I invest in individuals. I mean, technology is easy to fix, individuals much harder. I'm super privileged to be here today with you, and we have a portfolio of some very interesting companies to introduce you to, so I will step aside and bring up, but come. And I have no idea what's going to get presented, although I'm told it's going to be amazing. Just to say, apart from the feedback, it's going to be difficult taking questions. I'm going to try and test some of the assumptions from these presentations, but if anybody wants to contribute something, raise your hand and somebody nice will come along and have a chat with you. All yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Clifford. I'm the founder of Doorda, and we are here to make open data consumable to the general public. And what I mean by open data is within the UK, there are tens of thousands of public data sets scattered across thousands of websites. Examples would include Companies House with information on 12 million companies, price paid data, which you hear about every month about mortgage prices going up or down or property prices changing. And also things like crime data, so burglary rates, income problems, and so on. And what we try to do is we aggregate all that data in quite a simple way. So currently, you may think if you get a data set from LandReg, for example, which is all about price paid for data, you can download it, point A, put it into your database, point B, and you've got lots of data ready to use, and it's great fun, and off you go, you can impress your manager. An example use case would be if you're selling chairs and you import the price paid data into your company, you can identify people that have sold their properties or customers who've moved into a new address, and you can then sell chairs to them, which is great, easy. It's 70,000 sales per month. It's a guaranteed income revenue base for new customers. However, as we all know, in the real world, things aren't that simple. So what you'll find is you'll download the data set, A here. You've then got to automate the introduction of that data set. If the format changes, that then breaks your flow. If the data set changes, that then breaks your flow. If your system falls over, that breaks your flow. And more importantly, how do you join the data sets? So you may have 2 addresses, but how I identify my address will be different to how you identify your address. You may be Rose Cottage when your address could be 1 Ploughman's Lane. So we look at this issue, we're trying to work out, is this just a problem with us? So we went out and we asked data scientists in the market a few questions. So we conducted a poll with one poll, or an independent surveyor, not us chatting to our mates down the pub. And we asked them to ask 300 data scientists how they consume data and what they do with it and where they get their data from. I thought it would just be a few people, myself and some of our customers. Turns out that's not the case. And the first thing we identified was the fact that there are 140 job titles out of 300 data scientists. So you can be a data scientist, you can be a data analyst, you can be a data progressive, we have data evangelists, all sorts of people scattered across all organizations So it's pretty much safe to say that anyone using data is a data scientist these days or a data analyst, no matter how minor that may be. The questions we asked them were, do you take in external data? Interestingly, 70% of all models of the people who responded back to us are using external data. And that's a minimum 20% of external data is going into their models. They're augmenting that with their internal data to drive insights and value from it, which is what you see with all these AI tools and visualizations and modeling products available. 92% reported that external data significantly added value to their model. So if you're just using internal customer data, you only know one segment of 1% of your customers. If you merge it with external data, you're ramping up the whole value in the whole range, and you're tracking what customers do, which obviously adds quite a lot of value. Now, why are these numbers important? Well, 98% of people regularly evaluate external data. But where do you get it from? I could list 1,500 sources, not one by one, so that'd get a bit boring after a while. But there are 1,500 public sources you can go to get all this data. Are you going to spend time with your data scientists or yourself researching and finding this? Data scientists aren't trained to source data or to join data or engineer data. They're trained to evaluate it, score it, import it, and present it. As a data engineering company who provides this data, we fulfill that skill set for you. 40% of people who pulled data into their model then found out it was untrustworthy. So it could be the case the licensing term did change slightly. So if you're using land reg data for price paid and you're using the addresses for anything other than price paid data, you're actually in breach of licensing terms, which most people aren't aware of. Our company, we track all these changes and all these insights. And we're currently processing about 4,000 data sets per month, joining them onto company numbers, onto addresses, onto geodemographic areas, and allowing people to ingest all that data. Thank you for your time. Any questions?
I think that's down to me. So Clifford, one of the challenges is that we all use the word data, but I'm not convinced everybody understands what data is or where to find data or how to bring data to the people like yourself who can analyze it. So, I mean, talk a little bit about, you mentioned, 1,500 sources of data, United Kingdom. How do you even start sourcing or looking for the data sets that would be relevant to your team?
Very carefully would be the starting point. We didn't start with 1,500. Obviously, we started with a few dozen data sets. And one of the key things we focus on, because we only process, join, and match data, we don't actually do any analysis, any AI, any scoring. We offer no opinions. We present the data in a way that data scientists can then start applying their own value on top of it and their own IP. So we tend to start with sectors. So if we look at Companies House, they have about 25 underlying data feeds, so it requires deep mining to extract the data. If you look at property data, you can start with land reg and then join that onto a Royal Mail Post Office file to get a full list of 35 billion addresses, and then link EPC data, so sizes of properties, energy usage, that kind of stuff. And then census is great for geodemographic data, but we're very much driven by our customers and what they want us to import and ingest and match and join onto it.
So give me an example of a really complicated set of circumstances. I'm sure you must have had one or two of those.
Let me see. Spend data is a good one.
Spend data.
So under transparency...
Have you been looking at my credit card?
Well, if you spent it with the government, yes, I could probably find out.
No, I spend less with the government, more elsewhere.
So spend data is just transparency legislation in the UK to make some data available, because as taxpayers, we're paying for the government to do things on our behalf via our funding. Every government department, organisation and Quango legally have to publish a list of the invoices they've paid the private sector above a certain value, normally about £200. They publish all these files on their individual websites, and it could be a PDF, could be a CSV, could be an Excel spreadsheet. There's no definitive column heading for each one of the values behind it, and they don't necessarily give a company number or the correct company name. So we ingest 1,500 of these data sets every month, match them to Companies House, and then standardize the data set so you can type in a company number and see how much money PwC received from government funding over a period of time, or what local authorities paying for the window cleaning services, or the fact that Companies House spend 500 quid a month on flowers from the foyer.
And what would be, I mean, given that you are subject to the demands of your clients, what sort of areas of data would you like to be exploring and what would you like to be looking at?
We're currently, because of our company data, so one of our specialisms is we go long tail data. So not only do we have company's house data, we also gather data on health and safety executive. So who's received fines, who's not filing paperwork correctly, things from the Information Commissioner's Office. But we're also pushing now for the HMCS, which is the Her Majesty's Court Service, to get them to release more transparency around court filings. So, who's been prosecuted. This should be in the public domain, and it is slightly, if you're a solicitor, and it is publicly available in a certain way if you know where to go to. So we're trying to get them to release it in a standardized format that we can then link that onto companies, company directors, which should improve the identification of fraud. We all know about the issues with the COVID. We could have spotted them COVID registration a mile off if the government had have asked us. And making sure that people get more value when they're mandating which suppliers they deal with across the board.
Thank you. Clifford, thank you very much. Round of applause, please.
Thank you.
I mean, if I can just add to that, I think one of the challenges with data is having companies, organizations, people you can approach. A lot of data, you assume you need to go to the major management consultancies in terms of this. So having someone who you can build a relationship with, who can look at these data sets, is almost certainly a good thing. Can I invite up Jacob and 3AI? So we're going to have a discussion around asset management. And Jacob, the two of you, please.
Thanks, Alan. Oh, we don't need these. Can you hear? Okay.
Hi there, can you hear us? Hi, good afternoon. Lovely to see so many friendly faces out there. So my name's Hassan, this is Jake, we're from 3AI. And we're here today to tell you about how 3AI is going to disrupt the asset management community. We've developed an AI system that covers all global equity stocks. We've got over 20,000 stocks within our coverage universe. We produce alpha forecasts, effectively market outperformance forecasts for every single one of our stocks. We accompany that with factor insights, so what the AI has detected in terms of the performance. We also build autonomous investment strategies, so tailored investment solutions based on an end user's investment constraints. And we work then with large global distributors to sell those products. I'm going to hand over to Jake now, who's going to tell you a little bit about the technology that sits behind all of that.
Hi. Yeah, basically, so we've got like an industrial machine learning process that takes all the data you'd have in something like a Reuters terminal or Bloomberg terminal that investment professionals used to or do use. They typically use these more like $10,000, $20,000 a year messaging systems. It's not really possible for a human to process all that data. Our machine learning system really works with all of that and turns it into the data that people really care about, which is like the future data 2.0 for finance, what's going to happen next week, next month, next year. So we produce predictive analytics and insights that also explain why the AI thinks that a stock's going to move a certain way. There's a big market for this, by the way. At the moment, it's about 6 billion, projected to get to about 150 billion, which is trying to find alpha or value in data. It's growing at 55% compound rate. So there are predictive analytics have, if we look at research analysts in the world, you've got about 18,000 equity research analysts. Over the last 20 years, their ratings have like a 2.995% correlation to stock performance over the next 12 months. Our AI is Sentior AI. It reads all their reports, but also does a lot of other financial analytics, et cetera. It has about a 20-25% correlation over the next 12 months. So it's outperforming the collective research effort of 18,000 professionals that cost humanity 4 billion a year. Our AI costs less than like a million a year to run. It's also outperforming all the benchmarks that we look at. So 91% of investment managers underperform over about a 15-year period their benchmarks. All of ours live have underperformed, 100% are outperformed. So we have, yes, and also our predictive analytics, we've been in stealth basically for the last 3 years running live. It's been getting developed since 2006. The team originally, I built a data science unit that won the awards for self-learning investment AI that solved the biggest problem in insurtech that no one's talking about, which is balance sheet optimization-based investing. Not what we're doing here, get there later. But for stock picking, basically, our AI is working. It's now been validated and revealing half of the predictive insight in it despite hedge funds looking at the same data and having hundreds of PhDs, they're not finding half the insight or alpha predictive content that's in our data. So the AI is working very well. Been working on this since about 06, kind of like life obsession. And our CTO, who's not here today, doesn't like talks, did AI back way before it was Sexy 98. I was part of the Demis crowd at DeepMind, so at UCL. Back to us.
Yeah, so I think the key thing that we offer is effectively hedge fund technology, but we're making it more widely accessible than has ever been before. Our customer base, and this really validates what we do, are first and foremost tier one hedge funds. So we know that the quality of our predictions, the quality of our insights are as least as good as tier one hedge funds, if not better in some cases. And we now have a number of those types of institutions as customers. Following that, we've got now global distribution partnerships with leading banks, whereby we have built a tailored investment solution directly targeted for the annuity market, focused in the US. And that product is now live and being distributed into the US. The other area, I mean, we think about what we do really as alpha, delivering market insights, and the ability to outperform markets. And of course, the demand for that is very, very broad. So ultimately, we intend on making that even more widely available, all the way through to individual retail apps and investing apps. So that's what we do. If you'd like to find out some more, come and find us. We're just at that stand there on the top corner, and like to open up for a few questions.
I mean, what you do is incredible. If I may say, on the basis of what you presented in 5 minutes, it's focused at, let's say, elite market. Given that we're in front of a lot of SMEs and small enterprise, do you have a product offer that is available for small and innovative young companies?
So I think the answer to that is it depends on what you're doing. As I mentioned just now, we think about in terms of alpha transformation. And the appetite for that is everybody wants to know where they can invest and make a sound return on their investment. So ultimately, for small and medium-sized companies, if you have access to retail, or you have access to an investment community, or those type of buyers, then there is a product that we can work together on. So again, come and find us, and we're happy to talk.
And also, I would assume that in terms of the asset management you're focused on now, there are other areas of asset management. I mean, the opportunity of driving innovative technology focused on that particular thesis can apply to lots of other industries. Do you want to mention
yeah, I'll jump in on that. So the prediction of what's going to happen tomorrow and the future is kind of like data 2.0. It's where it will go. Like, why bother having data? Data's lead. Turn it into gold. Turn it into information. What's going to happen? And that's what you care about if you're investing. That applies to every single market for alpha. So markets for alpha is very big when you think of investment prediction, because you've got a structured retail products market that's hundreds of billions. You've got ETF market that's trillions. You've got, look at all those guys over there. They're all kind of working on it. In trading, they work. You've got short-term statistics. They are able to verify what they do. But in investing, like Warren Buffett said, there are very few investment managers who are any good. In truth, their core competence is salesmanship. They gather assets. They don't work. So, and they persisted like that for a long time. We don't need to have all the investment managers, asset managers that we have today. We're working with them right now, but the industry we can provide in software in time to everybody as like investment solved.
But as a personal statement, I think the area that you've decided to disrupt is particularly interesting. I'd be keen to see you back here in a year's time and see where that innovation has taken us. So thank you both very much indeed.
Thank you.
Best wishes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alan.
I think what is interesting is that there are all sorts of opportunities opening up. The whole issue with AI is built for purpose, where to train it, what to look at, how to manage this stuff. There's lots and lots of opportunities. And there's a perfect example of one that's being cultivated quite early. Can I now invite my good friend, and let me get his pronunciation correctly. Is it, I want to speak to Radek, yes? And Superface. All yours.
Hello, everybody. My name is Radek. I'm coming here from Czech Republic, Prague, so you will maybe hear more Chenglish than English. Superface stands for Super Interface. And I have a quick question. Who are using ChatGPT, OpenAI on daily basis, right? So you very probably are getting in this situation. You're asking some question and ChatGPT is stuck in September 2021. Why is that? It's because ChatGPT just scraped the data, learned from it, doing amazing job, but they are lack of real-time data. And we were thinking of it, what we need to add to AI to be able to look at our real-time data. What must happen to give us some visibility, some eyes, some even actions, activities, tasks to be working with real-time data. So we think that we need to add to our AIs, to our systems, a lot of integrations, right? Integrations give us a tunnel, pipe, channel to our data to look at our software as a services, to look at some public services, and then we can talk about AI, which is connected to our real-time data. So we were waiting for these 3 years. Actually, that was our dream, and it happened. This is for the first time I will present you what we've just developed. This is first day I will present you an AI agent which is connected to the real-time world. Our agent is an assistant. He's connected to multiple software as a services which you own, which you use, which is on your computer or computer of your company. And this agent is able to provide you real-time tasks. So you can ask it, what's the weather forecast for tomorrow in London? And if you be so nice, please send me this information to my phone number. This is actually working. Come to our booth, I will show you real example how you can do multiple tasks on these. One of the challenges with AIs and the data is how to use those data. So yeah, we can deep dive into SaaSes, take the data, how we can work with them, right? So see what the agent is capable of. So my task was, hey agent, look at my CRM, take some contacts. I need first name, last name, and emails. For the security reason, also for this presentation, I asked the agent, please hide mid-characters of the email and store them in a spreadsheet. This is usually, you need to do multiple steps. It will require you few logins to your systems, few minutes to work with. With Superface, with this AI agent, it's just one prompt. With the real-time data, you can use it. So Superface AI agent is a new technology, is an AI agent which you can use immediately. This is our MVP. We are here to find new potential customers, new piloting customers that would allow us to run the service in your environment. We are able to connect multiple integrations, multiple APIs of your in your environment. You can use it immediately. You will feel joy when you will use this AI agent connected to real-time data, because you will see that you can touch the data which is online, which is live. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so I love what you do in principle. The ability to drive an API, the ability to drive engagement, it short circuits
Yep.
the integration that you bring to organizations and bring to the data set. But there is an elephant in the room, okay? The elephant in the room is one of trust. How do you deal with the trust coefficient? How do you deal with the fact that you're working with innovative companies, they're trusting you to develop the right algorithm and the right API integration? So how do you manage the trust coefficient?
Okay, so thank you for this. This is
And
very
you have
important.
1 hour.
Yeah,
1 hour.
if I have 1 hour, thank you. So there are multiple questions actually in this one question. First of all, what we did on the technology behind, we are using AI. Actually, we build the AI that integrates itself APIs. You can say, hey, Superface, I want to integrate CRM HubSpot, and the system integrates itself. You don't need developers to connect other systems, actually. So that's one thing. Second, it's more technologically, it's more technical, but the agent understands some data models around, and it's also providing some self-healing, self-testing.
Which leads me to the second part of the question, and you have literally 30 seconds to answer it, is the iteration. Because, okay, you develop the first engagement, and then you've got the iteration to keep it relevant and keep it focused on the particular subject.
Yeah. So actually, the agent knows the answer before it show up on the screen. the agent is testing, it's self-healing, it's testing if the answer is correct, if it's matching, for instance, examples, what's needs to be present. So yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, next up we have Tenyks, who I've not met. I have no idea what they do, but I know they come from University of Cambridge, and it sounds as though they do something 8 times. I do? Come on, up you come. So do you want the good news or the bad news before you start? You want the good news or the bad news before you start?
Bad news, please.
The bad news is it's good to turn up early and then tell me what you do so I can introduce you. So now you're all on your own. You've got this audience. See what you can do.
Awesome. Amazing. Hello, everybody. We had a special addition here. So I brought my wonderful assistant in the new world to help us demonstrate the slides. You can hold it slightly higher. My name is Bot Dimanov, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Tenyks. We started Tenyks as a spin-out from the University of Cambridge while we did our PhDs in explainable AI. And we had one singular purpose, and that is protect the world from the Terminator. And to protect the world from the Terminator, we actually have quite a counterintuitive way of doing that. And that's why I've been fortunate to have been part of Y Combinator, one of the most competitive accelerators in the world. We've been featured in Forbes, Sifted. We recently won Cambridge University's Company of the Year award. And the reason we won all these accolades is because we realized that to make AI safe, we need to solve a real problem for machine learning engineers and give them their true desire. And if you look at the stats, and we can hold this slightly higher, today we have 8 times less machine learning engineers available than what are necessary. And that huge shortage of engineers has been created exactly because of ChatGPT and all the desire to implement the technology. So what can we do about it? Well, there are 3 main solutions. We can go and train more machine learning engineers. That takes a lot of time. So then we can go and build low-code or no-code solutions to allow more people to build AI algorithms. But that is very short-term focused because companies quickly grow out of these tools. And then we're left with only one solution, which is actually to increase the productivity of existing machine learning engineers. That's the fastest solution in the short term and the most effective solution in the long term, because when the new wave of machine learning engineers comes in, they'll immediately benefit from the gains of this productivity. So what is the #1 time waster for machine learning engineers? It's actually related to data. It's getting higher quality data, it's getting higher volumes of data, or is solving something called edge cases, which we're gonna get to in a second. And the reason for that is because we've now issued a new era where we used to develop software with code, but now the way we develop AI is with the data we feed it. That's what it defines the desired behavior of our AI systems. And in fact, if you look at the top 3 problems, quality is #1 because improving just 12% of the quality of a data is equivalent to increasing a data set by 3 times. And the reason why we want large data sets is because we need to solve edge cases. This is the true problem. And edge cases, these mystical edge cases, are actually extremely rare events that are the main cause behind the fact that AI systems are not performing as reliable as we want them to be. And essentially, what we need to do is go and mine these edge cases, discover where they are, train our algorithms on them, and only then we will know that when they happen, our algorithms are going to be, they're going to act as we expect them to act. So many people think that ChatGPT is the big risk, large language models and LLMs, but the true risk to AI are agents, autonomous agents operating in the real world, which navigate and use a different domain than text. They actually use vision. 80% of the sensory information we as humans use to navigate and operate the world is through sight. Vision actually comprises 50% of all the information in the world today. That's why if there existed a tool, if there was this magical safety and also productivity tool, it would have these 3 features. 1, it would be able to give an AI engineer or any person actually the true score, not just accuracy, but the truth about what are the vulnerabilities, the biases, the blind spots of our AI systems. Then it would allow them to understand the score by telling them what are the root causes behind these issues. And finally, it would enable them to improve the score in a very efficient way without collecting tons of data. Well, we are very fortunate that that's exactly what Tenyks is doing. We allow machine learning engineers to diagnose their algorithms, understand their behaviors, pinpoint the exact causes behind the data quality issues that are causing their algorithms to fail. And finally, use generative AI in order to, leverage generative AI with text and images in order to improve their algorithms. So with these final words, if you're interested about our vision to build the next vision prompt engineer, make sure to come talk to us afterwards. We're Tenyks. Thank you very much.
So I now know what you do. Okay, that's
fantastic.
good.
That's the good news,
that's
right?
Good news. Okay, I'm a bit worried about Y Combinator and some of those, but that's another conversation. But same question to you that I gave a little earlier. One of the challenges I have with you is the trust coefficient. Let me explain what I mean by that. One of the challenges when you are a founder or a chief executive or you build a startup company is that many of these startup founders are not technical people. You then employ engineers to do a job of work for you, and how you validate them, how you keep them on track, how you keep them focused is a challenge. Your tool obviously is very efficient from an engineering point of view, but how do you help the founder, the chief executive, the non-technical person understand the authenticity and the trust coefficient of what you do?
Thank you very much. That's a perfect build-up question because I have the fortune to be a technical founder. As I mentioned, I did a PhD, and now I'm transitioning into this more leadership management role of a CEO. So I've actually seen both aspects of what an engineer needs in order to build a great tool, but also what does a leader need to understand. And there are different levels of information that we need to deliver to different stakeholders in order to make sure everybody participates in the conversation. And we actually are all aligned on what are the limitations of our algorithms, where they're going to work well, if an autonomous vehicle can be relied on, if an AI surgeon could actually operate on a particular subpopulation. This information should be transferable both to the level of an engineer and to the level of a patient who is just interested in how this algorithm performs in their particular use case.
Thank you. I now feel more comfortable.
I'm very glad.
I was losing my hair, but I am more comfortable. Congratulations. Well done.
Thank you.
No, exactly my point.
You already did.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay, next up, I want to invite Maz to come to the stage, please. And Maz, when we were talking earlier, you were telling me about your experience in e-commerce and some of the consultancy bits you've been working on or enterprise you've been working on and what you're now doing. So please give us some insights.
Okay, absolutely. Hi, my name is Maz Darvish, and I'm the founder and CEO of CognitionHub. I'm going to start out talking to you about CognitionHub, and the subject area is product information management, also known as the PIM in the world of e-commerce. Now, before everyone falls asleep at the prospect of me talking for the next 4 minutes and 38 seconds about managing product data in e-commerce, let me just remind everyone of how our behavior as consumers has changed and evolved over the last few years and what it means for the e-commerce industry. So most of us in the old days of e-commerce and people involved in the e-commerce space, we would design and optimize a website where the most important page was the homepage. That was the page that would introduce our brand to consumers, engage them, build trust, and do all of the heavy lifting as part of a conversion cycle that would go to a few more landing pages. And then somewhere along the purchase path would be the humble product detail page that gave you the information and the specs about what it is that the e-commerce brand is trying to sell you. Now, over the last 4 or 5 years, that's changed a great deal. Everyone now, instead of going to XYZ retailer and browsing their website, we're all there in Google Shopping, Bing Shopping, Amazon, Etsy, all of these platforms that are multi-merchant and multi-brand platforms, and allowing us to shop across multiple retailers and then clicking directly through to a product detail page. And what this means is the humble product detail page has suddenly got the job of doing the heavy lifting of converting that buying intent that the consumer had going into that page into an actual purchase without the benefit of first having the consumer seeing the brand, the homepage, and all of the other things that would have come before. Now, why does this matter in terms of AI and what I'm product information management? A lot of e-commerce companies are suffering and struggling to create absolutely awesome product detail pages, and that's because their legacy PIMs that they're using as part of their tech stacks are not able to support the metadata that's needed to power a good, visually strong product detail page that doesn't have lots of blocks of text and boring specifications, because we're all used to now as consumers, we like to consume things visually. The Gen Zs are an important market. It's a very visual market. Again, the data that many e-commerce companies have is trapped in legacy PIM systems, and they simply don't support. They simply don't support the metadata that's needed to do the job. So when you then look inside those e-commerce companies, most of them have product teams that are responsible for the product data. Those teams are massively overloaded. So the last startup was talking about a shortage of machine engineers, but actually there's a really boring shortage as well, which is the poor people in the catalog teams of many of these companies are struggling to create content for their own website, for Amazon, eBay, Etsy, and lots of other platforms. So there's more demand for more sales channels and less time to enrich the data in a way that the data deserves for the product to become the hero again. At CognitionHub, our goal is to reimagine the PIM using generative AI to make the lives of the product catalog teams nice and easy for them to do what they're good at, to be creative, to describe something once, and allow the AI to actually take that content and repurpose it for all of the different platforms and all of the different areas that are needed. And importantly, automate the extraction of metadata that's needed to support the modern product experience that everybody's after. Now, what's my journey and my story? My background is I've just left an e-commerce business, a mid-sized e-commerce business called Sweatband. My leaving due was last Thursday. I only left to jump on this full time. On Friday was my last day, so it's a very new early stage venture. For the last 10 months as a side project, I've been putting together a team of data scientists, techies, creatives to try to solve some of the pain points that we've experienced in the world of e-commerce. And we think we've got some good things that have started to come together, and are looking forward to a good, exciting journey ahead, helping to reimagine the humble PIM as a bit of a sexier product powered by AI. So
thank you, perfectly on time. So I have some. Thank you. I have some questions for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, in the world we live in today, sustainability, supply chain challenges, sourcing of product, there's a food, fashion, lots of demand on getting the right information into place.
Absolutely.
And I think there is not just a legal requirement to do that, there's also a social.
There's a social responsibility.
So do you make companies smarter? Is that part of the work?
Yeah, absolutely. By enabling their PIMs to support a rich ecosystem of metadata, that forms a foundation that can help power supply chain management, predictive demand, being able to tell what characteristics of a product are the very essence of the things that make it sell, in order to source the right amounts of product to arrive at the right time to be available for sale in the market. It makes commercial sense. Also, it makes sense from avoiding what all retailers hate, which is overstock and ending up with.
No, I think there's a bigger problem. I think that the authenticity of that information is key. There are legal challenges around that. I mean, I admire what you're doing, and I'd be interested to see how this develops.
I mean, on the legal side, in a very small team, there's 10, 12 of us as a startup, and actually 1 out of the 12 is someone who's a legal intern, precisely for the reasons that there are going to be many challenges.
My daughter's a solicitor, my son's a barrister, so call me if you need any help.
Okay, absolutely. Thanks very much. Cheers. Thank you. Bye.
And last up for this afternoon session is Hector from Oxford Immune algorithms. This is interesting. This is really interesting. Hector, please.
What about now? Yeah, excellent. Thank you very much. Amazing audience. So my name is Hector Senil, and I'm the founder of Oxford Immune Algorithmics, which is a startup that was incubated by the University of Oxford. And let me tell you a little bit about myself, so that you know where we are coming from, and where we want to go. So how many of you have used Siri and Alexa? I guess pretty much everyone, right? So it is almost like a rhetoric question. So I wrote some of the functions behind Siri and Alexa that allows these systems to answer factual questions. So anything you have asked about, for example, the long-term weather anywhere in the world, or how tall is the Eiffel Tower, it most certainly used my code. So my code has been used by millions of people around around the world. But I was kind of dissatisfied to have this kind of impact, because I thought I could do so much better with the research I've been doing in the last 15 years in institutions like Oxford, Cambridge, the Alan Turing Institute here in London, and at Karolinska Institute, where I was hired about 10 years ago. The Karolinska Institute in Sweden is the institution that awards the Nobel Prize in medicine or physiology. And you would ask what a computer scientist or mathematician is doing in such an institution. And that's basically because we were trying to apply AI to cell and molecular biology, to tap into the immune system, to basically monitor the monitors, to try to find out what are the dynamics of health and disease. And I was quite frustrated there when I was at Karolinska, because I was seeing how much advanced we are in the research stage, but how much lagging behind we are in actual medical practice. I was frustrated by going to the GP and sitting down in a chair. And as you may all have experienced, you have to chat with the GP. It is pretty much not data driven. The GP doesn't ever ask you what is your blood pressure, right? They just measure it. So for pretty much everything else is just like a chat. I was kind of frustrated, especially because coming from research, I knew we could do much better for things like, for example, infection, right? So for infection, there's always kind of a tension between patient and doctor, because the patient always wants like antibiotics. And now we have a huge problem with antibiotic resistance. And actually, it is kind of a very simple test to know whether, or to guide your decision on whether you should prescribe antibiotics or not, because you can run a blood test, but unfortunately that takes a long time. And I don't know if you have experience with NHS, but I've been waiting like for 3 months for an appointment. So it is really scary. There's huge backlogs and waiting lists. So I thought we could do much better and help the NHS to continue accomplishing with their own mission. And the mission of the NHS, if you don't know, is to provide access, equal access to everybody to a good standard of healthcare. But currently, I don't think they are managing to fulfill this mission, and I think they require as much help as we can provide them. So what I'm moved by is unfairness, and I think the worst kind of unfairness is inequality in the healthcare system. And in the UK, we have kind of minimized that inequality with universal access to healthcare. But even here in the UK, there are also inequalities. People that are remotely far away from hospitals, for example. And you know, as I was telling you, I've been waiting for 3 months only to have a blood test done. If you have contacts, or you have to move around to look for where you can get better service. But in other countries, it is even worse. And it is not, I'm not talking even the developing countries. In the US, this is way worse, because as you know, healthcare is a business. So if you don't have money, really, you are in troubles there. So what my company and I want to do is basically to eradicate all disease-related suffering and pain, because that's basically what I was telling you I see as very unfair. So how we are planning to do this, and we think we can apply AI and artificial general intelligence to healthcare and medicine. And let me explain you why I think AGI is very important. And I'm not talking only about generative AI like ChatGPT. I'm talking about something more profound that I'm going to talk in the next slides. So I think we need AGI because when you go to a medical doctor, obviously the doctor is an AGI, but you don't go to ask them about your uh, food recipe or a building in engineer question. You are only asking medical questions, right? So it is an AGI that is specialized in answering medical questions. So we are not here for the purpose of creating an AGI to take over the world and answer every possible question. We think that what we have to do is to create an AGI plus a domain expert, and then apply it to an area where we really require a lot of help, like in healthcare medicine. So my own research has been about creating this kind of AGI engine based on the principles of algorithmic information theory. And I have published over 100 papers, basically leading and pioneering this kind of research. And we want to apply all this for things like early detection and regular monitoring, because we want to transform the current system from sick care to healthcare. And let me explain you why we could call it sick care. Basically, because you only get medical attention when you get sick, when it is already pretty much late. And we think that's even perhaps bordering unethical, because we are pretty much expending all the resources in trying to cure people instead of preventing that people to get ill in the first place. So we think things are going to change dramatically. We don't know when. We are trying to accelerate it, but it is obvious, and you can see it with NHS, for example, with this initiative called virtual wards. It is about keeping people at home because they cannot keep them at hospitals. That is very expensive and not scalable. And as you may know, most of the technology in human history has been about pushing technology to people's homes. Think about it, it's like the car, the phone, the fridge, even services, right? We used to go to the cinema to watch a movie. Now we can watch it whenever we want at home. So we think many medical services are going to happen at home, including blood testing. And we are kind of focusing right now at pushing blood testing and blood testing monitoring to people's homes. So we have created this technology that we call AlgoSight, which is an AGI-driven technology to monitor people's health at home and monitor and learn from them over time, their own their own personal baseline. So in 10 years, we want to cover about 100 million users. And I show this because you can see the difference with ChatGPT. They were able to have 100 million users in only 1 month. And I always think that the world is kind of upside down. And it's going to take so long to actually, hopefully not so difficult to get to the 100 million users. But this is another level of impact, right? So ChatGPT users are probably the students trying to do their homework. And these 100 million people are actually people that we potentially can save lives. So take, for example, the example of cancer patients. They already have to do a lot of blood testing once every week. They have to go to the hospital and miss all day. It is a terrible experience. And we could do this at people's homes. And with cancer, I don't know if you know, but actually almost half of the cancer patients don't die because of the tumor growth, but they die because of an infection. So they have immune systems so weak after a chemotherapy that even the smallest pathogen in their bodies kill them. And that's basically because we are missing the symptoms of infection because they are so similar to chemotherapy. So if we have this kind of device and technology at home, we will be able to do something. So let me show you something. So we, among all this, the end-to-end solution that we have created, we also came up with this little device that is currently able to run a full blood test with about 20 biomarkers. And it is the most popular and most important medical test. And there's nothing like this on the market. We are able to do so with about 90% accuracy already. And obviously, we are still fundraising to push it to 100%. We already know that our algorithms are ready to go all the way, but we are still a little way to go. But we think that in the next year or so, we are going to be able to launch this kind of device and the whole solution that includes an AGI platform that collects all the data and connects that data that was produced with this device and others, because we can collect data from other devices, put it together, and then associate it to possible diseases and conditions. Thank you very much.
Well done. So is that the new Apple iPhone 15?
No, it is not.
Just
I
checking, that's
wish.
not it, because it won't fit in my pocket.
No, it is a little bit heavy, but the equipment at labs is like a fridge. So we have managed to basically make it this small, and the idea is actually to give it away for free. So on a subscription basis, so people are going to be able to monitor themselves.
Hector, let me challenge you a little bit.
Yeah.
Your vision is extraordinary. It is amazing. There isn't a person in the room who doesn't want this to happen, but there are some challenges. There's challenges around compliance and standards, not just in the United Kingdom, which is problematical, but almost everywhere in the world. So how do you think you're going to address compliance and standards?
Yeah. So we don't pretend to have all the answers, and I think actually this is a challenge that is not exclusive to this startup. We go above and beyond what is required. So you were asking me about GDPR, for example. That is basically the first level of what the NHS already asked you, because we have 2 procurement agreements with NHS, and we have been developing, by the way, this with NHS for 3 years, and that's the best way to answer this question. So we also have cyber essentials, for example. We have NHS DSP. So we basically try to comply with everything.
I mean, again, we haven't time to discuss this in detail, but the trust coefficient that I mentioned earlier is very much paramount to you. But this is something you're looking at as part of your research, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we have always to look at what is the alternative, no? And what is already working. We have glucose meters at home, and people don't worry much about their privacy as much as actually not to have to go to the hospital, for example.
On behalf of the whole audience, keep us informed. We want to know more about this. Come back and tell us more next year.
Absolutely. Thank you very much again.
Thank you.